Sanvosela lamhla ekuseni sethama ukuthi nibene phela somvo lenhle nale busisekile. It's a beautiful Monday morning. What temperatures namuhla kubukeka kwangathi atawuba setulo above 30 degrees Celsius khona lapha eMbabane. Good morning and welcome. My name is Lungelele Makakula. You can also watch this show on our YouTube page Eswatini TV. Nemnguni lapha eceleni ngami Shumna Kubili. How are you this morning?
I think now it's a beautiful Monday morning. Is it beautiful because
it's beautiful because we're here, we're alive.
Okay, yeah. Okay, kulolo hlangothi ke ngiyakuvumela. Ngamambala sibonga umdali wetinsuku bonke ukuthi nalomhla sikhonile kuvuka. Tawuqala naleli viki lekugcina lonyanga yelwethi siyangena enyangeni yengongoni inyanga elishumi nakubili. Lungelele, you are just alluding to the fact that sasephetha umnyaka kuleli viki lemphela sonto lesibuya kuye empeleni. Ngibona labanye bebangani bami babuya ekhaya Eswatini. Bangani bami labangahlala lapha ekhaya. The festive mood, the festive season has officially started. Yeah, everyone's excited. Ngikhonile ke ekhaya kulemphela sonto. Ngavusela bomake nabobabe nebashana. You know, even my sons and daughters. It was a really beautiful weekend and I'm hoping ukuthi sonke singemaswati nje kule festive season we are really enjoying this time because it is skhathi la kufuna khona enjoy khona Lungelele. It is the festive season at the end of the day, but we're happy to be with you again this Monday morning to bring you your perfect recipe to start your week and your day in Kusile breakfast show. It's a Monday, stabe sikhulumisa ke temidlalo zasile msakato temidlalo leNda Master Dlamini will join us at 7:30 to discuss some of the results kulempela sonto lesibuya kuye from the MTN Premier League lapha ekhaya kwehlela ke South Africa to the English Premier League as well as the La Liga. A lot of upsets and a lot of exciting wins for others, especially let me not say asikhulumisa na Master Mafika.
Yeah, all right. So last week Friday, the Deputy Prime Minister's Office and stakeholders the 16 days of activism against HGPV. So on the show will be joined by Xolani Hlachwayo wenhlangano 1 billion rising solidarity Ganye nemcondzisi wenhlangano Eswatini action against abuse nonhlanhla Dlamini kukhuluma ngayo 16 days of activism against abuse. Ngembiko ke lo veto ngo-WHO violence against women and girls remains one of the most prevalent human rights violations in the world. Emhlabeni wonke nje an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both at least once in their life. Mkhankaso walonyaka calls on all citizens to show how much they care about ending violence against women and girls and call on governments worldwide to share how they are investing in GBV prevention. Sibhekekile ukuthi sixoxisane nabo labo makela babili lomuhla at 6:30. Indaba lenkulu lena Sifiso, I think organizations in the country have been calling for HGPV to be declared as a national disaster. So we're hoping we would see the incoming government, especially particularly the DPM's office, would look into this and consider declaring a national disaster GBV.
We did see the Deputy Prime Minister, of course, visiting Shiselweni region last week nakuphela nje eliviki ufike wayikhulumisa leyo ndzaba leyo nangakhulumisana nesive saseshiselweni tinhlangano empeleni letilwa nato letigameko leti. So kuyakhutsata nje kubona ukuthi nahulumende nangamambalo yasukumela kanike sibabonile nemaphoyisa Lungelele evikini leliphelile. They did a walk and they continue to sensitize. We even had someone come into the show from maphoyisa that you spoke to. Yeah, so indzaba vele lebita ukuthi ikhulunyiswe.
Yeah, kunjalo mbukeli. So do stay with us. Sisaba ukuthi utabanele suku loluhle. Let's take a look at news making headlines this morning. Sitaqala ngebuka liphephandzaba i-Times of Eswatini sibuka leti hamba imbili lomuhla kuyi Monday. Lethamba imbili 6-hour wait after Malakwane truck accident. Ingotikele na leyendeke itolo ngetithuba tasekuseni khona lapha eMbabane. Antsikulenyele hamba imbili UNDP study reveals shocking statistics on education sector. Pupils spend approximately 14 years in school, but their learning capacity is about only 5 years. More on page 2. Kulenyele hamba imbili Cece takes swipe at Zwemat. Kanti kuletinye claims 30 teens raped at Mginzangunu. Kulenye lehamba embili, wife sent nudes to CJ ngekusho kwa government driver.
Masichubeka sibuka temidlalo bonkhosi le hamba embili over 100,000 emalangeni fine Makau ringleader as Pirates face possible rather over 100,000 emalangeni fine. Players allegedly attack referees in Eswatini game, match officials saved by police, and this is the second time Pirates are found on wrong side of the law, so the law will take its course. On another one, Sihlangu miss out on big bonuses but closer to 150,000 emalangeni payout. Nsingizini Hotspurs deny Madlenya top spot kulempela sonto as they had a goalless draw emidlalweni ke laba udlale bobabili. We also have some of the results from the weekend and the MTN First Division log standings, as well as a leading headline from South Africa, Sundowns cruise to CAF Champions League win. Ku leader ke Times of Eswatini nomhla ekuseni.
Headlines leading on the Eswatini Observer, Lomuhla Leopard Star suffers serious injuries. Ditombekeleto letijensako ukuthi is in a critical condition. Nasibuka letinye thamba imbili, minister buys meds for patient and also provides him groceries for a month. Antikulanye leti hamba imbili, some women worst abusers ngekusho kwamaphoyisa. Kanti kuleti buya kubete the meteorological department, the past 12 months were hottest in history.
Nasibuka temidlalo ku Observer lomhla ekuseni, players are hungry but they cannot train. Manzini Wanderers seasoned Gafa Nyangayezizwe Crooks Hlophe believes the current financial crisis that is engulfing the team is a major setback, thus contributing to the inconsistent results. Madlenya remain unbeaten after they had a goalless draw against Nsingizini Hotspurs this past weekend. Kuphinzeke kube nema results ayo lempela sonto lesibuya kuwo. Kulida ema headlines Eswatini Observer Sports this Monday.
Kanti nasibuka Eswatini Daily News, Lomuhla reps steps up security ahead of festive season. More on page 2. Kuletinye thamba imbili, 7 chiefdoms raise concern over New Frontier coal investment operations. Kanti all set for Form 5's exam retake.
Kutemidlalo Eswatini Daily News this Monday morning. Festive top 8 cup on the cards as the Premier League of Eswatini is on the verge of staging top 8 tournaments during the festive period, with Chairman Mark Carmichael confirming that logistics around the tournament will be released in due course. Madlenya misses out on top spot after that goalless draw with Nsingizini Hotspurs. Al Etifak leading the race to sign De Gea. Page 20, we follow the full story on that one.
All right.
Those are the leading headlines this morning.
Right, so 7 minutes after 6. Let's take a break. Sibiyani indaba Eswatini.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letentiya ngaleso sikhatsi, tindzaba letide emagama lacosheme, letitsembekile, letitsintsa tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni.
Kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele, siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanti kulomsakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letichamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Bonkosi sibuke nathi tindzaba indvuna yetemcebo waphansi nemandla umfanenkosi lonkhokhela itsile litiko linemsebenzi lomkhulu wekutfutfukisa tetmayini kude umnotfo welive utfutfuke bunciphe buphuya eveni. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhatsi isukumisa sigaba sesibili seluhlelo lwekuhlola ukuthi umcebo waphansi ukhona unganani ukuphi lelatiwa ngele multidisciplinary geoscience mapping project.
Indvuna yetiko letemcebo waphansi nemandla umfanenkosi lonkhokhela ikhuluma ngesikhatsi sukumisa sigaba sesibili saloluhlelo i-multidisciplinary geomapping survey ithi lohlelo luhambisana ngco nemgomo ngwenyama nesive semaswati wekutfutfukisa umnotfo kwakheke ematfuba emsebenti ngetetimayini.
Akuthi nagujwa lemisebenzi letimayini kugujwe nje ke kungahanjiswa lento kunjalo emaswati ke ugcizelele uhulumende nengwenyama kwekuthi emaswati akahambe embili la mining angabuyi ngemuva ize ithi ingwenyama ingomo ayishekisa umnikati lokusho ukuthi ke maswati akahambe embili sivekeke siyacelwa nabo baphathi bemhlaba boshifu nebantu abenkosi kuthi kusendeka lo msebenzi kungabi nekwethuka ukuthi hawu sekwente njani cha umsebenzi wekunene nini bekunene lo sukunyiswe nguhulumende wayimbubo ukuthi cha awentiwe kuhlolwe lephansi emhlabathini ukuthi kunani.
Lo msebenzi live laseSwatini liwenda ngekubanjiswa libandla lelibukete kucwaninga temcebo waphansi eNingizimu Afrika i-Council for Geoscience kanti lobukete temcebo waphansi kuleli bandla Taufik Danse uveta ukuthi lo hlelo litawuchubeka kanjani.
We are quite excited about the other areas we'll be looking into. We know that there's going to be some petroleum resources. Some of the areas in the south might have coal and natural gas resources. Some of the areas in the west, we know there's more mineral potential in terms of gold and base metals.
Lesigaba sesibili saloluhlelo sitawube sigcile kakhulu esifundeni saseshiselweni naselubonjeni kanti sitawuthatha inyanga letisithupha sibite uhulumende imali letigisi letilishumi nesiphohlongo temalangeni 18 million. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Samkeliswe Khoza kunasimuva Shongwe kuMatsapa.
Ngenhloso yekutfutfukisa tekuvakasha kuleli libandla lebacondzisi be-African Tourism Board selisukumise umcimbi lohlose kuhlanganisa tonkhe tinhlangothi tesive lokufaka ekhatsi labo lababuya kulamanye emave labahlala kuleli lotawendeka ngenyanga yamabasa eminyakeni lotako. Machaza kabanti ngalomcimbi isihlalo wenhlangano yetive letahlukene letihlala kuleli Emmanuel Ofori uthi lo mcimbi ulitfuba lelihle lekwekuthi letive titfutfukise emabhizinisi ato.
Asachubeka nekuchaza longusihlalo wenhlangano yetive letihlala kuleli uthi lo mcimbi uhlose kukhanga netivakashi letibuya kulamanye emave. Uthi sive selivekati le-Afrika kufanele sihlangane sesekelane kude kuthuthuke iminotfo yalamave. Uchubeka uthi lo mcimbi uhlose ukuthi leSwatini lingasaleli emuva kutekuvakasha.
When we decided that we should also live as one people, we realized that we share some common goals.
Lokhangisa i-African Tourism Board Kusile zwane uthi lo mcimbi utawukwendeka khona eMemorial Park kaLobamba ngenyanga yamabasa eminyakeni lotako kanti bosomabhizinisi batawuba nelitfuba lelihle lekukhangisa imikhicito yabo.
We bring tourists to them so they can come there and showcase their businesses and showcase what they do, and then at the same time then we are also using the broad network that we have.
Bosomabhizinisi bona bathi bayatfokota kakhulu kwekuthi batawuba nelithuba lekukhangisa kulo mcimbi.
Ingisita kakhulu aloko ukuthi iyang-expose i-talent yethu to the nation.
Iyasimakethela i-business yethu.
Ngekusho kwembiko we-World Bank tekuvakasha tifaka lokusikhombisa ekhulwini emnothweni welive. I-African Tourism Board ithi ifisa ukuthi letinombolo tikhule kakhulu kunaloku njengoba elitiko letekuvakasha lithi lifise ukuthi tekuvakasha tigcine tifaka 11% emnothweni welive kanti i-African Tourism Board ithi imicimbi lenjengalena ihlose kufeza loku. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelson Wendla ngamandla ngina Linda Dlamini kaLobamba.
Live laseSwatini ngekubanjiswa inhlangano yemave ladlelana nemangisi Commonwealth litawucinisa tinhlelo tabomake nebantfu labasha labahlala edolobheni kude badlale indzima lenkhulu ekutfutfukweni kwemadolobha. Lokhu kuvetwe ngumcondzisi wekutfutfukiswa kwemadolobha Gordon Mbuli.
Lo mhlangano weliviki ubobanjelwe eveni leRwanda evikini leliphelile kanti emave ladlelana nemangisi iCommonwealth awubamba njalo emva kweminyaka emibili. Lapha eveni lo mhlangano lo watiwa ngele Commonwealth Local Government Conference bongenelwe ngumabhalane lomkhulu etiko letindlu nekuthuthukiswa kwamadolobha Dr. Simon Zwane, baphathi nabomeya bemadolobha elive kanye nemcondzisi wekuthuthukiswa kwamadolobha Gordon Mbuli.
Silivela kangwane-ke besikucelela kuloko ukuthi ngalokho silabuma-ke ikakhulukazi labuma-ke sibashiye ekhathi kule misebenzi lebe bayenda. Sicela-ke ukuthi ichubeke for the next 5 years ukuthi nabe imali itholakala sikhona ukuchubeka nato. Nalokunye kulabasha youth in local government. Sibonile ukuthi nabo kusashoda ngoba-ke besigijimisa luhlelo nje lokuthi sifuna aboma-ke labancane young women bangenele itepolitiki la ka local government.
Mandisa mthimkhulu losebenta kamasipala wedolobha laseMbabane wetfule tincomo tebantfu labasha belivekati leAfrika kulomhlangano.
Sicele ukuthi emadolobha nahulumende aqale ngekubuka ukuthi singayinyusa njani i-economy ngetindzaba tebantfu labasha. Sasa sibuka tindzaba democracy sacela ukuthi emadolobha kanye nahulumende lomkhulu anyuse iquota yebantfu labasha labatawuhlala tihlalweni authority. Sacela ukuthi in terms of parliament kube nequota yekuthi kube nebantfu labasha.
Ngakulokunye live laseSwatini selitawuba ingcenye yelibandla lelithatha tinqumo telihlangosi lwemadolobha lenhlangano yaka Commonwealth. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Samkelsiwe Khoza kanti tifombe tichamuka etiko letindlu nekuthuthukiswa kwamadolobha.
Inhlangano yebantfu labasha kuleli Eswatini National Youth Council ibuka tindlela tokwekuthi yini lengentiwa kude bantfu labasha belive leSwatini bakhona kutsengisa imikhicito yabo eveni leZimbabwe. Akhuluma ngemuva kwemhlangano yebantfu labasha eveni leZimbabwe mchumanisi kule nhlangano sibonga konke Dlamini uthi uma abantu labasha kulamave lamabili bangabambisana kuthengiselana ikakhulu kutemnotfo ingakhula ke iminotfo yalamave lamabili kuphindze kwakheke nematfuba emisebenzi.
Sixoxisana ngetindzaba ukuthi bantfu labasha bangalolonga kanjani amabhizinisi abekuthenini bakhona kokuthi nabo bathengiselane ngemave bakhona kokuthi timfo tabo noma-ke ama-products abo atiwe velo mhlaba wonke jikelele.
Somabhizinisi lomncane longenele lo mhlangano eveni leZimbabwe uthi kuningi lakufundzile.
Lenkufundzile kakhulu la unetworker and nekuxoxisana nebantfu laba already in business ukuthi ibusiness yami ngimuvu lomusha ngakhona kuyindlondlobalisa kanjani. Lenkufunze kakhulu nalenguthethe ngeta nako ekhaya lento yanako ekhaya ukuthi kuthengiselana nalamanye emave fanele sihlangane sibantfu labasha sihlangane sende something like a one stop shop ukuthi bantfu nabafuna order sifake tonke timvo tetfu la ekhatsi.
Inhlangano yebantfu labasha ithi ngemuva kwalomhlangano itawufundisa bosomabhizinisi laba bantfu labasha kuleli ngemazinga emikhicito yalamanye emave kude tintfo tabo titawukhona ukuthi tithengiswe ngaphandle kwakuleli. Lo nyaka litiko letemabhizinisi nekuthengiselana netinhlangosi letitsindzekako lenda lucwaningo i-Finscope survey kubuka ukuthi bosomabhizinisi labancane nalabasemkhatsini bayakhona yini kufinyelela yetimalini. Inhloso ukuthi bese kwendiwa indlela yekubasita kangcono. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelson Wendla ngamandla titfombe tibuya enhlanganweni yebantfu labasha.
Kwekhamba kuphatamsekile entsabeni yakumalagwane emgwaqweni loya kaManzini ngeLsonto ekseni kulandzela ukuthi iloli lebeyitfele emalahle iwe ivale lomgwaco. lokho ke kubangela ukuthi imoto tingakhona ukuhamba ekakhulu emaloli lamanengi lebekade awehla inthaba yakumalagwane lakaphocelelekile ukuthi eme kusukela ekseni kwaze kwaba kusemini ema-hour lasithupha kwakuhamba kude kwaba ngcono akhona kuhamba emini ngetithuva tekuphuma kwemasonto kanti-ke becima mlilo babonakele sebawasha lamalahle bawasusa emgwacweni ngekubambisana nemaphoyisa lebebalawula kuhamba kwetimotolo njengoba umgwaco besawumandi bawasha. Bomake belibandla le-Divine Healing Ministries bakhuthata bomake bakuleli ukuthi babambelele evangelini kude emakhaya achubeke asimame ikakhulu kulesikhathi lapho khona kuhlukubetana emndenini kusezingeni lelisetulu. Labomake bebakhuluma kamanzini ngesikhathi kunetinkonzo tabomake kuleli bandla.
Kulesikhathi lapho khona kubhoke kubulalana nekutibulala ikakhulu kubamfla abasha bomake be-Divine Healing Ministries bahlangene kubuka ukuthi bangadlala yiphi inzima kwekuthi bomake bachubeke basimamise emakhaya. Emaphoyisa bike ukuthi ngendlovana kulomnyaka bantfula batibulele bang-133 kanti labaningi babo bantfula abasha kanti lababulewe bang-147 lokungilokunye lokwenda lelibandla litikhulumise letindzaba letifana naleti lisashumayela.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi kube sonke sibomake siyamethemba uNkulunkulu simthande noma simo sibidakwana ngoba yena unako konke simtshele isimo ukuthi sithini. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi nalobudlwangudlwa ngabungcono.
Labanye bomake labangenelele nkonzo bathi libandla linenzima lenkulu lefanele lidlala ekuqinisekisa inhlalakahle yesive hayi nje emakhaya abo kuphela.
Letimo tifikela lokuthi tikushelelise enzaweni yakho. But now umake uqeqeshiwe ufidiwe live laNkulunkulu nesiwe uyakhona kuma because you are not standing by your own strength. Uma ngalamandla nakuniketa wona uNkulunkulu.
Siphila even lapho banifana bentatinto letine nje ukhanza ukuthi tiphambene kodwa asumthatha lo mfana ngalendlela lentangayo umfana amkhombise uthando ngaso sonke isikhathi umnake umente abe ngumngane kuwe angadukwesaba.
Kulomhlangano wabomake baphinze bakhuthathwa ukuthi bathandazele live kude lichubeke libe nekuthula. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla nginalinda Dlamini kaManzini.
Kulandzela ukuthi emalunga ePhalamende eli-12 akhethwa aphinze lamanye abulawe silo semhlaba baphinze bafunge kuphinze kufungeke nandvunankulu welive kanye netindvuna tembuso mabhalane wePhalamende Benedict Xaba somemetele ukuthi iPhalamende ngakubanjiswa inhlangano yakamhlaba ye-10 i-United Nations Development Program sukela ngemsombuluko mhla tinge-27 itawubamba ingqungquthela yemhlangano wekufundzisa lamalunga inqubo yePhalamende pheceleti induction. Mabhalane wePhalamende uthi lo mhlangano welive utawube ubanjelwe ehotela le-Happy Valley ezulwini ngaphansi kwesicubulo lesithi kusebenza ngalokuphelele umsebenzi wePhalamende wekwakha live. Xaba uthi lo mhlangano utawuvulwa ngalokuphelele ngundvunankulu welive Russell Mmiso Dlamini kanti-ke titawukhulunyiswa tihloko letifaka ekhatsi kubuswa kwelive ngetinkhundla luhlaka lwentfutfuko yelive kanye netingoni tekuphasiswa kwemitsetfo. Mabhalane wePhalamende wephethe ngekuveta ukuthi bayiPhalamende nanabo badzinga kusukuma bathi nkwe njengekutfunywa ngiyo ingwenyama kute-ke nePhalamende idlale inzima lenkhulu ekwenteni impilo yemaswati ukuthi ibe ngulengcono. Babe bancane labavela emitfolampilo nasetibhedlela ngenxa yekushisa lokwecile lokubekhona kuleli viki lesiphuma kulo. Umfundisi wetempilo Kelvin Dlamini uthi livangeli lekunatha emanti lona livakele kakhulu kulabanengi.
Bonile abantu bangena emtholampilo ikakhulu kati bangena babika inhloko lekungilolunye keliphawu lolubakhona nangabe kushisa kakhulu. I think isibe nawo ema-case lambalwa la ukhanza khona ukuthi abantu bashayile tincingo kwekuthi uva unesiyeti uva uyacinana sase siyabona ke ukuthi ngileti mpawu tekwekuthi kuyashisa kakhulu. Asinyuse ke lizinga lethu lekunatha emanti bese sesinciphisa lizinga lethu lekunatha lokhu lokunabo shukela lokungafaka ekhatsi emajuice nalo kungafaka ekhathi mhlambe letitsakamiva tshwala ngoba kona kunaloshukela lomningi lakiko le noma ngabe ungawathola lamanti lekunawo lakhathi kusho ukuthi ke utawuphinza utikhanze ukuthi sowufake eshukela emtimbeni wakho.
Sangoma selitulu Boy Motha sithi atawehla kancane emazinga ekushisa kuleli viki lesiya kulo nawucathanisa naleli leliphelako.
So kusukela namhlanje nje isimo sicishe sibuyela kulesejwayelekile sasehlobo la ukhona na ukhanza ukuthi nalishisile bese lihamba emva kwemadina bese seliyaduma liyana simo lesiphose sifana naleso nyalo kusukela manje cishe kuyoze uphose kuphelele iviki yebo ke leti indzawo letifana nasehlanzeni mhlambe usetawuthi kuba bebambeka kodwa leti ngasentshonalanga noma ke ngale ndzawo letiphakeme khona singakulinzela isimo lesifana nalesi.
Tangoma telitulu tendlulisa sexwayiso sokuphepha njengoba kusehlobo kanike tisitawubitisatisa sive njalo njalo ngesimo selitulu etindzabeni ngemkhiyani Msibi ngisembabane.
Kutemidlalo inhlangano yemidlalo webasketball kuleli beyibambe umhlangano wekukhulumisa tindzaba letahlukahlukene talomdlalo ibasketball indaba eOlymp Africa kalobamba. Umhlangano bekungenelwe ngemalunga kanye nawo wonke umuntu lotsandza lomdlalo.
Ngenyanga lephelile malunga enhlangano ngamalo umdlalo webasketball kuleli akhetha buholi lobusha balenhlangano. Lobuholi lobusha balenhlangano bubonakala sebuvele bucalile ukusebenta njengoba kuleli viki bathole kusekeleka ngemali kanzi kulembela somvu lenhlangano ephinze yamema onke malunga nalabo labatsinzekayo kuwumdlalo webasketball ukuthi bede batobonisana nayo lenhlangano ngetindzaba tekuthuthukisa lomdlalo webasketball ibasketball indaba. Lisekela lamengamelo lenhlangano Phumelele Motha uyenaba ngawo lomhlangano.
Siteke nalapha batosichushisa bekunene ukuthi siwupromota njani lomdlalo. Etukwaloko siphinze sikhulumisa indaba yetikolwa ikakhulu lomdlalo wethu nasingase silikusasa lawo kakhulu ligcile kulabantu labasha. So part of our plans is to go back and sibe labanye labakhulumisa ukuthi etikolweni sidlalisa kanjani ema competitions siphinze bese siyabuka ukuthi kuma regions ala kangwane kude nema tournaments esingama hosta so that lo mdlalo utawanza.
Kanzi labo labangenele lomhlangano nabo bayachaza ngabomcobe ekuhlanganyela kukhulunywe tindzaba tekuthuthukisa lomdlalo.
Umcoka kakhulu bafo because nanathi kuyasida kuloko and nathi siya lo mcondo wethu uyaphuma kulo maybe inkinga asifanani futhi nale inkinga tethu yabo but naloku ukuthi sivele ngala
ema sports ala kangwane mostly is mostly on men, so nathi sesifuna kuba included into le now ukuthi sibonakale ukuthi siyadlala.
Kanzi kuletinye tindzaba letikhulunyisilwe tifaka ikhatsi licebo lekusebenta lakhe mengameli tindzaba letitsinza umdlalo wabomake kanye nebantfu labaphila nekukhubateka. Lobikela umsakati Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kalobamba.
Mapalane wenhlangano lengamele umdlalo wetennis lapha eveni Nqaba Mkhaliphi uthi kuyajabulisa kubona abadlali balomdlalo labasesebancane bavela noma bavelela abachudzelana nebadlali lasebekade baqala kudlala lomdlalo.
Kulembela somvo bechubeka imidlalo emacembu langaphasi kwalenhlangano lengamele umdlalo welibhola lemphebedo lapha eveni lowatiwa ngale SBS Club Championship yomnyaka we-2023 lapho khona emacembu bekancoba ngekuthi athole amaphuzu lamanyenti kunalamanye. Lemidlalo idlalelwe enyuvesi yasekwaluseni kanzi emacembu labekawungenele bekasikhombisa.
Lama clubs lawa abesikhombisa nekusho ukuthi kunebadlali lesicabanga ukuthi sisuke nabo bo 12 years 10 years lamhla sibona bona ngibona badlali labambe embili njengotifiso tethu ukuthi uma sikhulisa abantwana senyuke nabo.
Kanzi esigabeni sama-singles badlali belicembu lasemhlume kubonakale kungilo lelihamba embili njengoba kubo babe Vusithabethu uncobile kuSuntower Acers kwathi kubomake Sakhizo Malinzisa wemhlume wancoba kuTanzile Dlamini naye we-Acers.
Basically empilweni kudzingeka ube ne-consistency kulowo ndawo ungazami kanye bese ayekela. Ngicabanga ukuthi lokho ngiko lokwente ukuthi mhlawumbe namhla siperforma kahle and kumcoka kuba nema hours ecourt because that's key
It was a very tough game. Bengingaqali ukudlala naye bese kwesithu ngidlala naye. Last time wawina and this time bengitijelile vele ukuthi ngifuna ukuwina, but then mayisaqala igame it wasn't promising, but then masekuhamba ngagcina sengibona ukuthi ya ngidowina and then I won.
Lo mqhudelwano busekela libhanga leSwaziland Building Society ngemali engu-15,000 amalangeni, kanti lona licembu lemhlumu lihamba ekhaya lithola imali engu-7,000 amalangeni njengoba lithola amaphuzu lamanyenti kulamanye amacembu. Lobikile umsakathi Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kuMathapha.
Unkosi tingako-ke tindzaba tesiswati lomhla ekuseni asibahlola emakethe sibuya sichuba nehlelo.
Hello and welcome to Eswatini TV and to a brand new talk show called A Cuppa with Nomgebo. And I do what I have to do because I know where I'm going. All 5 of my mothers have inspired me.
So the addiction didn't happen then. It happened again another 8 years later. But that's where it started.
Choices I made at the time were not the best choices for myself.
I understand how a person can lose their mind in terms of life experiences.
That's what it looks like, and I like that. But you know what? The journey to my success is never a straight line.
Yeah, people are on the net now, and that's where we'd like to catch them with such shows.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nawo losandza kusivulela bezivedele ukuthi isidaba esikhuluma nge-16 days of activism against HGBV. Ngekusho kwembiko waka-UN, violence against women and girls remains one of the most prevalent human rights violations in the world. Emhlabeni wonke nje, an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner violence, or both, at least once in their life. And Kangaso Walonyaga calls on citizens to show how much they care about ending violence against women and girls, and call on all governments worldwide to share how they are investing in GBV prevention. So aboneleke emaphoyisa kanye netinye tinhlangano tibambisana kuzama nje kwanzisa lwati engakohlubeteka ngetebulile. I'm joined by Country Director waka 1 Billion Rising Solidarity Xolani Tlhatshwako kutiteka kabandile titindzaba at the GBV. Sibaboneleke bavakashela nama media houses lahlukahlukene evikini eliphelile kuzama nje kwanzisa lwati ngakohlubeteka ngetebulile. Sesivele sinaye studio. Good morning and welcome to kwamukela kakhulu lomhla ekuseni imake Tlhatshwako. I think indzaba lenkulu lena selo steka yona nje indzaba GBV ukuthi inkulu. Nasibona nje lama stats aka UN lokuthi at least an estimated 736, 1 in 3 women are violated. Ingabe leti tinombolo titfusa kakhulu invele. Let's discuss nje lama stats lawo.
Ngiyabonga Lulu ngibingelele nembukele ekhaya. Indzaba ehlukubedwa kwabomake namantombazane it's alarming, it's at an alarming rate, and akusiyo into lesingathi iyasijabulisa, and that's why we put more efforts ukuthi senda njani kucedza lelizinga lekuhlukubeda kuleti nombolo letingaka. And what lokufuna kusi uwarishe as emaswati ngifuna ukubisela eSwatini ukuthi nawubuka ipopulation yakangwane, ipopulation yethu bomake ngibo laba imajority wa more than 50% of the population. So nangabe sithi lizinga lekuhlukubeteka linengi kakhulu kubomake, lokusho ukuthi ingcenye yalelive noma letakhamuti takangwane letinengi tiyahlukubeteka. Lokho kuveta sithombe lesingasiko mnanzi ku future generation ngoba siyathi ukuthi umvulo umake noma intombatane ekugcineni kwawo konke ngibo labakhulisa labanye labatawuphindze babe bafana noma mantfombatana ekusasa. So if le lobulili lobu buhlukubeteka ngale lizinga lelisetulu kangaka, kukhomba ke ukuthi sitawuba senkingeni ngoba nangabe lo make ahlukubeteka, lokuhlukubeteka lokwenteka kimi ngingimake kusho ukuthi kwenteka ngalesinye isikhathi ngigona umntwana nami, kwenteka ngalesinye isikhathi ngitethwele. Lokuni banemithelelo noma ngikhulisa abantwana, lokunemthelela ukuthi ngenteka ngithi ngitaka lo mfana utalwa sone kuthintheka ndlela thide affectwa ngile ndlela lengicinzetelekele ngihlukubeteke ngayo. Lo munye mhlambe sowukhona uyabuka lo mntwana la kubonako kungene kwenteka acabanga ukuthi this is into lekufanele ukuthi ayende naye. Lokunye labanye bayafa abantwana bafe ngalesikhathi bahlukubetana laba sibhakela sishaye siyoshaya umntwana ngabe usotelo noma songekhathi esiswini. Lokunye lokuphinze kube buhlungu labo make bahlukubeteka lokuhlukubeta kugcina lokunye kuthethe umphefumulo. Angafa ngekuthi le depression leseyilethe tifo empilweni yakhe ashiye tintsandzane. Lo munye ucommit suicide noma ucabanga ukuthi ibulala. Lo munye ukhanze ukuthi ufa ngoba ubulawa ngilomhlukubete. Lese kubhlungu kakhulu ke nasibuka leti nombolo sekunyuka naleli zinga leti nombolo tekuhlukubetwa ngesibhuku sekuze kuyabulawana. Le minye imphefumulo ubulawelwe embi kwalabantwana kube ngiwe ama witnesses ale ndlela lenelidlame lengaka lekubulawa ngayo loyo mtali. So lesimo lesi nje ngingasho ukuthi sibi kakhulu mhlaba wonke nasekufaka ikhathi eveni la kaNgwane.
Indzaba lenkhulu lena Gcwele, I think nje njalo ngeliviki akwendeki ukuthi ngabe ne case ukuthi sekunemfu ohlukubedekile, sekunemfu mhlambe lo sasishile emhlabeni ngesizathu se-GBV. Ingavela mhlambe ngiyakholelwa ukuthi nihlangane mhlambe nema community members, nihlangane nalamanye ama stakeholders, nihlangane letinye ukuzama nje ukudiscuss ukuthi siphuma kanjani kule nkinga lena. Ingabe nanisahleli nje ngicocisana nibuka lesimo lesi, nibuka ukuthi ngimaphi ama interventions landiwa mhlambe kufaka ikhathi nahulumende kubanjeswane yini mhlambe kahle velele nalengendiwa lengazama ukunciphisa wona lama cases.
Kunengi tintfo nasisacocisana letingentiwa ngoba nawubuka kulwa nalokuhlukubeta angeke ubuke ehlangothi lunye. Tonke tinhlangothi letikhona eveni la kaNgwane letisebenta kubuka inhlala kahle yabantu noma letibuke ukuthi inqubo yakaNgwane ematiko lahlukahlukene singasebenta njani iyathelela ekutheni singalwa nalokwanza kwekuhlukubeta. Angifuna kuqala emangweni kunetinhlelo takhona njengoba sing1 billion rising sinaleti gungu tekucocisana emangweni le lapho baholi bemimango boba beshifu nabo bandla kancane nabaholi bemasonto nabaholi letigaba ehlukene letikhona emangweni baba mahlahla ndlela ekutheni kuchamuke netindlela letisita lo mango ekutheni sikucetha njani kuhlukubeta. Lokho ke kungaba ukuthi kube netindzawo letichubeka tivule lokuthi kukhulunyiswana nekufundiseka kwabantu. Akusiyo ke into lesingayithathela phasi ukuthi hayi sesikwendile sekwenele. So lokuqhubeka lokuthi labantu bacocisane nalokukhuthaza lokuthi kube ngabo laba organizer letingcoco leto noma lokufundisana lokho kuze batobhoboka ngoba sikubonile ukuthi sisithe as much as nabo babe bahlukubeteka boba abakhulumi bayagcina leto tintfo letendekako lokhanze ukuthi sekumcinzetele nakubhabaka kungabe ukuthi mhlawumbe sogcina sowuphambene nemithetho naye sowuhlukubetile ngandlela thile. So lana ke kunalama platforms nabo bakhulume babhoboke bakhona ukuthi bave ukuthi bakanjani. Nalokuthi emangweni kube nalama interventions ngingasho ukuthi kube naleti inhlangothi ukuthi nangabe umfu ahlukubedekile isigaba lesidlalwa umphakathi bobandla kancane emaphoyisa emango banakekele ekutheni balekelele kuleso simo labantu labatinde khona emimangweni. Phinze futhi indzaba lenye indzaba yetemnotho ikakhulu kade emangweni kusebenzisana netinkundla ukuthi kuvulwe emathuba ukuthi abantu labasha baqala imisebenzi bobabe bomake baqala emabhizinisi ngoba ngilokunye lokulinyeva ekutheni kwanze kuhlukubetana emangweni. bese sewubuka-ke ukuthi nahulumende ngoba sesikhulumile ngemango nahulumende kunesigaba la kufanele asidlale kwenta siciniseko sekuthi lelu sito leluya emangweni etinkundleni lwemathuba yokuqala emabhizinisi lawo ma-programs akaqiniswe ubuke nekuthi nalokufundiswa lokuphindze kuchubeka kuya khona kube nama-budget la khulako ukuthi bafundiswe bantu ubuke netempilo nasetempilweni kukhona lezi zinga labangadlala i-justice system noma kutemthetho nakhona lapho kunenzima labangadlala kukhulisa noma kushintsha nekufundisa labo labenda lo msebenzi loyo lokuphaka ekhathi emaphoyisa nabasetinkantolo nekuqinisa ke ekutheni akangathi umuntu usafike lapha athi khanze angamukeleki athi khanze angabutholi ibulungisa nasetemfundweni ngingabala kunengakhulu lesonke lesingadlala inzima ekutheni sicethe kuhlukubeta itolo nje besinelibandla lihlangene emphakathi naloko kukutshela ukuthi nelisonto lineligalelo lalo lekufanele ukuthi lidlala kude umuntu lesingathi lona usele emuva lona kufanele kuhambe bani embili kuyekelo bani sonke sidinga ukuthi kube khona lesikwendako sisukume lokho lokuncane lokunye ungakubuka ngazuthi ngabe bekungafika kuphi nekucala ngawe nje ukuthi uthi sukumele wena uveta umlayeto kulomunye lohlethi lapha eceleni ukuthi nangabe colana sukumile ngingahlalelana ngingathi sukumele ngoba nangu ngiyambona ukuthi unele kuthi sukumela wasukumela nalomunye kuhlukubeda kuphelile lo moya loyo nje nguwo lo lotawusisita ukuthi sikucethe lokuhlukubeda singakubuki ukuthi sikubuke kunamalanga la-16 kepha sikwende kube indlela yethu yekuphila siqhubeke sikhulume ngako konke lapho sikhona uma ufike emsebentini inkulumo yekucala nje nangabe bayathandaza labathandazako abathandaze kodwa siphinde sikhulume ngalezi ndzaba ekuhlukubeda
kuyavakala kahle kahle uthi Gcolani vela kube khona nokubambisana kuhulumende sive wonke muvu nje kude nje kutawuncipha leti nombolo sibangakhulu isikhathi sakho sesama ukuthi sitawuphinze sibe nawe on the show sibhekele ukuthi sixoxisane naye umcondzisi wanhlangano iEswatini Action Against Abuse make noNhlanhla Dlamini after the break.
What do you think the best part of traveling is? Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Let me tell you about my crush. Ngenzane inhliziyo yami embi kwakho njengebhudanga.
Ngondlo esiswayo.
It is 3 in the afternoon. We are back in the living.
For men are so kind towards creation more than they even were to their own creator.
I am the greatest of this generation. They'll be calling me the girl who made poetry look cool, yo. Cool. Hello and welcome to Eswatini TV and to a brand new talk show called A Cuppa with Nomgebo. And I do what I have to do because I know where I'm going.
All 5 of my mothers have inspired me.
So the addiction didn't happen then. It happened again another 8 years later. But that's where it started.
Choices I made at the time were not the best choices for myself.
I understand how a person can lose their mind in terms of life experiences.
That's what it looks like, and I like that. But you know what? The journey to my success is never a straight line.
Yeah, people are on the net now, and that's where we'd like to catch them with such shows.
Eswatini lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive, and swag. Eswatini lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places, and trends in the kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Sibugo Semaswati.
Are they yours?
Ngabukela ke washa umkhukhu every Sunday at 3 p.m.
Let me tell you about my crush. Ngenzale inhlitiyo yami embi kwakho njengekudala.
Nkonjo yesiswati.
It is 3 in the afternoon. We are back in the living.
For men are so kind towards creation more than they even were to their own creator.
I am the greatest of this generation. They'll be calling me the girl who made poetry look cool, yo. Cool.
Atimeze silemukele sakuvusela nawe lo sanza kusivulela siteka tindzaba the 16 days of activism against HGBV sicaza kucocisana nacolani ihlatshwa ko 1 billion rising campaign noma ke 1 billion rising solidarity sivedele ukuthi sitawufuna ukucocisana nemcondzisi wenhlangano yeswaka make nonhlanhla Dlamini. She joins us now via Zoom. Asivusele Nkhosile Mhlayehlelo ni thank you for joining us. So siteka tona tindzaba letibalekile nje indzaba yehlukubeteka ngetebulili sakumele ukuthi iswaka introduce an integrated approach kuzama kubhekana netindzaba te-GBV that fire khathi ema key areas la fire khathi prevention care kanye ne support kusichaza nje ukuthi ngavele mhlambe letimvo letini tenda kanjani nenhlangano yeswaka. Asivusele futhi Nkosi ingabe yangiva inyelo
Khane ngikuva bekuselo kungavakali.
On the show today. Thank you for joining us. I think ungaba kuva nje njoba solo sititeka nje tindzaba te GBV sitakhumbula ukuthi iswaka ya introduce an integrated approach kuzama nje ukudila noma ke kubhekana netindzaba te GBV lokufaya khathi ema key areas ye prevention kanye ne care and support. Ingabe nje kusichazela kusineta sijomise ukuthi ningiswaka vele nisebenzisana kanjani vele nje kuzama kunciphisa tona tinombolo tebamvu labahlukubeteka.
Lesi sikhathi lapho khona emaphoyisa agubha kuba khona kwawo even. Kulapho kukhuthathwa khona sive ukuthi sike sihlale phansi sibuke bumcoka bemaphoyisa empilweni yabantu. Siphindze sibuke indlela letinsha tekuphepha kubo bonke bucala lobuveta sihloko. Sive sakangwane siyakhunjutwa ukuthi singawafaki emaphoyisa etinkulumeni tepolitiki ngoba liphoyisa alingeni futhi alingenelani nepolitiki. Emaphoyisa alwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco kuphela nje. Ingako emaphoyisa athi wonke umuntu eveni akahlale ngaphandle kwekunceneka ukuthi angahle ahlaselwe tilwane tasendle. Umuntu lohlala eSwatini akatiphilele atisebentele ngaphandle kwekwesaba kuhlaselwa kwemucwa nekucekelwa phansi kwempahla yakhe. Nawe wena lophathekile, emaphoyisa athi digulele kahle uze uphile ngaphandle kwekuphatamiseka. Lokungenteka ngekuthi tidlova tingene tihlasele labo labakunakekelako kuleyo ndlu. Sive lesihlakaniphile nguleso lesiphakamisa kusebenta kwemaphoyisa nabo bonke labalwa nebucala. Ngale kwaloko timbungushe tiyawuwangenela emazinyane kungenamuntu ekhaya. Lo mlayeto niulethelwa ngemaphoyisa eMbube abambisene nomsakato wetithombe.
Asibenzele sinemukele sixolise ngaleyo interview kanti ke ubese uyasilahlekela make noNhlanhla la minister ucubekela kubuka simo semgwaco lomhla ekseni kubuka ukuthi ingabe kuhambeka kanjani na Constable Ntombendle asekuvusele Mtolo ingabe kuhambeka kanjani lomhla ekseni.
Ngikuvusele eMagagula, ngivusele naye umbukeli wemsakato. Imigwaco elivela kaNgwane sesihlolile, imigwaco leminingi yelive iyahambeka. Ikhona tona tikhinyabeto letikhona kepha ngeke timende umshayeli kwekuthi angakhone kufika lapho aphokophele kufika khona. Singaqala ngako nje kungaba ngiko kwekuthi kulandzela kona kwekuthi itolo kube nesiphazamiseka kwekuhamba kwato timotolo khona kumalagwane. Timotolo setiyahamba ngalokukhulu ukukhululeka khona lapho siyamkhuthatha nje umlaleli noma ke umbukeli asetawusuka ekhaya ukuthi ahambe ngokukhululeka anake nje timpawu letiphakanyisiwe khona emigwacweni khona lapho. Emadolobha elivela kaNgwane siwahloliwe nawo tiba netemgwaco tiyasebenta tonke ngalokufanele nato leti taseMbabane setilapha katiya lebese lotingasebenzi cishe isikhathi leside emva kwekuthi tilimale nato setiyasebenta kulolu suku lanamuhla. Kungaba nje ubonga kusosive senkosi lesisibambisile kulesimo lebesikhona khona lapho. Sivele sinengi sikhombisile kwekuthi siyadinaka timpawu letiphakamisiwe na kwekuthi ke siyayilalela nemilayeto siphinde siyende ngekuthi sibonile bamelana banikantana tona tigaba tekhamba sive senkosi saphepha ngalokukhulu saphepha kakhulu sisawusebenzisa leto tibanetemgwaco. Lomunye umgwaco lesiuhlolile sisesekhona khona edolobheni eMbabane umgwaco noma ke sitaladi lesingizozisa road besuka khona ekhaya edolobheni sekumanzana lapha eceleni kwaseMbabane Central High School leso sitaladi leso solo timotolo atikhona kuphambana khona lapho. Kune tisebentike temgwaco letibamisako tiphindze futhi tibakhulule ukuthi bahambele kwenta kwekuthi sive sikhanze sesibambeleleka nangabe siphuthuma sithi nje nanamuhla asichubeke sive senkosi siwusebenzise leminye imigwaco lengena khona ekhaya edolobheni kuze kuthi siphephe sisawusebenzisa. Umgwaco lomkhulu osuka khona ehekela sengwenya uye khona kamanzini siuhlolile. Lesi kunakileke inkhungu ikhansa phasi khona kumalagwane na usuka nje lapha emva kwelitshe uyawufika khona endasi timotolo tiyakhuthathwa kwebashayeli betimotolo bayakhuthathwa kwekuthi bakhanyise wona emalambu lamakhulu basawusebenzisa lowo mgwaco ukuze ukuthi bakhone kuphepha nekwekuthi ke bashayele ngelitubane lelifanele noma ke lelo leliphansi ukuze kwekuthi bangatikhanzise bashayisana naletinye timoto. Kanti ke nje cishe izindzawo letinengi nakhona ekhaya edolobheni siyanaka kwekuthi nakhona edolobheni eMbabane inkhungu nakhona ikhansa phasi lokwenda kwekuthi kube lukhunyana ngisho nekubona dona tiba netemgwaco kwekuthi tivete muphi umbala sithi nje bashayeli basawusebenzisa umgwaco abanake kakhulu khona lapho. Nasehla yena amalagwane lapha endasi emnyamathini kune nasikhuphuka amalagwane lapha endasi emnyamathini kune loli lesele eceleni kwemgwaco ivale umzila longasencele na ukhuphuka. Bashayeli ke bayakhuthathwa kwekuthi banake timpawu tibekiwe kubaqaphelisa ngaloko lokukhona khona lapho. Lomunye umgwaco lesiuhlolile umgwaco losuka khona eMhlabubovu uye khona eMangayane lapha emanyukeleni eJ2 ungafiki khona lapha eNthabeni kumtimane kune bus lapho lefele khona emgwacweni. Lo mgwaco loyo ke uyi-dual carriage na ukhuphuka ubheka khona eMangayane le bhasi ifele la kulomzila longasenqele sithi nje bashayeli abanakisise basakhuphuka khona lapho kanti nakhona lapho sikhona nje leso sinyabedwe lesiyibhasi nenkhungu nayo i-counterpart sithi nje bashayeli la khona babona khona ukuthi kunenkhungu litubane labo abaligade phindze futhi bakhanyise wona emalambula amakhulu ishiselo nalo lubombo sihlolile naso leto sifunza kude lokungakanani lesingakubikela yena umbukeli kulolu suku lanamuhla ngale kwaloko Thombeni naye umbukeli imigwaqo livela kangwane yahambeka ngaphandle nje kwalete sesifiso sikabe ngaba kusela yena umbukeli lusuku loluhle naloluphephile basetha usebenzisa yona imigwaqo livela kangwane.
Sibakhona umdolo sikusiniketala yombiko lomhla ekseni sidawo bahlalete emakethe sibe sichubeke nehlelo.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at international news. 13 Israelis and 4 Thai nationals arrived in Israel on Sunday in the second release of hostages from Hamas captivity in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in a deal briefly endangered by a dispute about aid delivery into Gaza. France 24's Walla looks back on a dramatic night that underscored the fragility of the truce brokered between Israel and the Islamist militant group.
After a tense standoff between Hamas and Tel Aviv, these newly released hostages are heading home. On Saturday, after hours of delay which set nerves on edge, 17 captives, 13 Israeli women and children, as well as 4 Thai men, were finally freed by Hamas and returned to Israel.
An elite IDF unit and a Shin Bet group are now accompanying the hostages back to Israel. After an initial assessment of their state of health, our forces will accompany them until they rejoin their families in hospital.
The handover came hours later than expected after the militant group accused Israel of violating the exchange agreement. They said Tel Aviv was hindering humanitarian aid from reaching civilians in northern Gaza during the 4-day truce, a key point of the deal.
We have called upon the mediators to make the needed efforts to fulfill all what has agreed upon, like allowing the trucks of aid to reach the northern part of Gaza. Out of 200 trucks, we did not reach till now 70 trucks.
Israeli troops have forbidden civilians from returning north during the truce, which began early Friday. The UN humanitarian agency OCHA said it received several reported incidents on Friday of IDF forces opening fire and throwing tear gas canisters at people heading north. Israeli officials have denied breaching any terms of the pause. Among the second batch of newly released hostages are 8 children and 5 women, 6 of whom are members of the same family. This makes a total of 26 Israelis and 15 foreigners released so far.
A 4-year-old Israeli-American girl was freed on Sunday as part of the ceasefire between Israel and the militant group Hamas. U.S. President Joe Biden celebrated the child's release as he expressed hopes that the ceasefire is extended.
Israeli-American toddler Abigail Eden was among 17 hostages that the militant group Hamas released Sunday.
Her mom was killed in front of her when her kibbutz was attacked by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. Abigail ran to her dad then, who then was gunned down as well, while using his body to shield little Abigail.
U.S. President Joe Biden shed light on the diplomatic efforts that have been at play to secure the Hamas-Israel temporary ceasefire.
We've been in close contact with the leaders of Qatar, Egypt, and Israel, speaking with each one of them repeatedly over the past few weeks to help secure this deal. The proof that this is working and worth pursuing further is in every smile and every grateful tear we see on the faces of those families who are finally getting back together again.
The road to recovery could be long, though.
Physically, many of them are doing okay. Emotionally and psychologically, this is going to take a long time to recover from. And Israel and other countries have mobilized substantial resources to be able to deal with that trauma as we go forward.
As part of the truce, dozens of Palestinian prisoners have also been freed. And fuel and humanitarian aid has been entering Gaza. But it's unclear if the ceasefire will hold or be extended.
When this ceasefire period ends, as Netanyahu has said, the conflict will continue. And that conflict will continue, as Israel has stated, until Hamas is removed.
There are hopes, however, that a permanent solution to the Israel-Hamas conflict can be eventually reached.
Until there is an independent Palestinian state, there is not going to be peace or security in that region.
From the Vatican, Pope Francis also underscored the importance of dialogue to resolve the conflict and celebrated the latest release of hostages.
Russia launched its largest drone strike to date on Ukraine over the weekend. Kyiv says it destroyed all but one, but falling debris caused several injuries and damaged buildings. A top UN official called for continued solidarity with Ukraine.
An air raid siren blares amid a Russian drone attack on the Ukrainian capital. The head of the capital city administration, Serhiy Popko, called it the most massive air attack by drones on Kyiv. Ukraine's Air Force said it shot down 74 of the 75 Iranian-made drones. The attack started Saturday, coming in waves for more than 6 hours and leaving 17,000 people without power in the region, according to Ukraine's energy ministry. It also came on the 90th anniversary of the Holodomor famine genocide. Holodomor, which means death by hunger or starvation, was a campaign through 1932 and 33 orchestrated by then-Soviet leader Joseph Stalin to seize control of Ukraine's grain production. At least 3.5 to 7 million Ukrainians died. According to the University of Minnesota, those numbers may be understated.
Caro Presidente Zelensky, caro Volodymyr.
It was against this backdrop that Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni recorded a video message to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Holodomor Memorial Day. She said her government welcomed Kyiv's resolve to continue the Grain from Ukraine humanitarian food program, announcing a further contribution of $2.2 million to the effort. As part of the program, Ukraine partnered with countries and private sector donors to supply its grain to countries in Africa and Asia that face malnutrition and hunger. At a recent meeting of the UN Security Council, Ukraine's permanent representative to the United Nations accused Moscow of again using similar tactics as those in the early 1930s.
Starvation is one of Russia's methods of warfare, has encompassed various components since day one of the full-scale invasion. These include blocking Ukrainian food exports, shelling Ukrainian ports and grain stores, mining Ukrainian fertile soils, and turning them into battlefields.
Following Russia's drone strikes, Zelensky and European leaders met in Kyiv at an international summit on food security. He said foreign partners would supply Ukraine with vessels to accompany and secure convoys of cargo ships from Ukraine's ports. Zelensky added his country hoped to solve air defense shortages through new supplies from partners and increasing Ukraine's own production capacity before another air raid siren cut short the joint news conference. At least 5 civilians in Kyiv were wounded in Russia's assault on the capital, with several buildings damaged from falling debris, including a kindergarten. Those injured include an 11-year-old child, according to Mayor Vitaly Klitschko.
The United States and Germany, the two top providers of military aid to Ukraine, pledged continued support this week as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky declared his core goal was securing international assistance for the year ahead. But experts caution that the US and Germany risk being perceived as too closely tied to Ukraine's grinding war with Russia.
After returning from a surprise visit to Kyiv earlier this week, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin held the 17th meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group on Wednesday, praising the group's steadfast commitment to Ukraine as it resists Russia's invasion.
Our unity sends a clear message to Putin that he cannot outlast us or prevail in a contest of wills. And as Putin continues his tragic and unnecessary war, he has been forced to look for support from Iran and North Korea.
Germany's Defense Minister Boris Pistorius also visited Ukraine on Tuesday, announcing another large military aid package for Ukraine worth about $1.4 billion. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Wednesday he called on Russian President Vladimir Putin to end his invasion of Ukraine and withdraw his troops so an end to the war can finally be found. Putin took part Wednesday in the virtual meeting of the group of 20 leaders, saying that Russia never refused peace talks with Ukraine. But Western leaders and experts say Putin has shown no interest in any negotiations to end the war. Some experts have expressed concern that Ukraine's two top supporters, the United States and Germany, may be viewed as closely tied to Kyiv's stalled war effort. Michael Kimmage, a U.S.-Russia relations expert at the Catholic University of America, had this reaction.
Is that victory is not around the corner for Ukraine. Russia maintains its hold on roughly 17% of Ukraine's territory, and Russia has been rapidly increasing its spending on defense, and Russia has untapped manpower capabilities in the war.
But Kimmage also pointed out that for 21 months, Ukraine has managed to contain Russia's aggression, despite Moscow's threat to widen the war, and that Putin's progress is also stalled.
Russia has not had a major battlefield victory since the early summer of 2022. That's more than 12 months ago. Russia expended enormous resources on taking the city of Bakhmut, a city of 70,000 before the war. That's a very questionable or perhaps of no strategic value to Russia.
Experts say Ukraine is bracing for another long, cold winter, expecting more Russian attacks on civilians and its energy infrastructure.
It's been 10 years since pro-European protesters gathered in Kyiv's Independence Square, events that would lead to the ousting of the pro-Kremlin President Viktor and Russia's forceful annexation of Crimea. Now, as Russia's full-scale war on the country rages, Ukraine's future in the European Union is set to be decided at a summit in Brussels.
A moment that changed the fate of a nation. In late November 2013, Ukraine's then President Viktor Yanukovych pulled out of signing an association agreement with the European Union under pressure from Russia. Thousands of protesters filled Kyiv's Maidan Square, waving the blue and gold EU colours. Among them was Dmytro Riznichenko.
We wanted to find human dignity. We wanted freedom.
After a brutal police crackdown, thousands more Ukrainians joined the protests from across the country. Some 108 protesters were killed in what became known as the Revolution of Dignity. Yanukovych stepped down in February 2014 and fled to Russia. Olga Tokaryuk, who now works for the British policy group Chatham House, was among the protesters and took these images.
We had no idea what was ahead. Of course, we could not have imagined that there would be Russia's invasion and that there would be war that would last for 9 years already, that there would be Russia's full-scale invasion, that millions of Ukrainians would have to leave their homes, thousands would be killed in this war. Many of the people who were on the square in Maidan would be killed in this war.
Russia forcefully annexed Crimea in March 2014 and fomented a separatist war in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine elected a pro-Western government and demanded EU membership. But Brussels said Ukraine wasn't ready, and that proved fateful, says Tokaryuk.
Ultimately, that's what compelled Russia to invade Ukraine on a large scale, because Ukraine was just left in this limbo. It was left as a buffer zone.
Ukraine is now engaged in a full-scale war against Russia. More than 10,000 civilians have been killed since Moscow's invasion in February 2022. Next month, European leaders meet to decide whether to begin formal negotiations on Ukraine's EU accession. Marking the 10th anniversary of the protests, Ukraine's president said it was his country's destiny.
20 years ago, it was a romantic dream. 10 years ago, it was an ambitious goal. And today, it is a reality in which it is no longer possible to stop our progress.
The president of the European Council offered his support.
I intend to do everything to convince my 27 colleagues that we need a positive decision in December.
It's vital that the EU offers Ukraine hope for the future, says Tokaryuk.
It will be a morale boost. It will be a blow to Russia, of course, because that would mean that Ukraine has once and for good departed from the so-called Russian sphere of influence.
EU accession would require large-scale reform of Ukraine's governance and economy. The decision is expected at a two-day EU Heads of State summit in Brussels beginning December 14th.
Dutch voters sent political shockwaves across Europe when the right-wing anti-Islam Freedom Party, led by Geert Wilders, won the highest number of seats in Wednesday's snap election.
Geert Wilders has long been a provocative figure in Dutch politics, but never before has he enjoyed this level of success, with his party winning 37 of the 150 seats in Parliament.
And the hope is that the people get their country back, that we make sure that the Netherlands is for the Dutch again, that we will limit the asylum tsunami and migration.
Wilders' party manifesto promises less Islam in the Netherlands. In 2016, he was found guilty of criminally insulting an ethnic group and inciting hatred and discrimination after leading a crowd chanting for fewer Moroccans in the country. Minority groups have voiced concern at Wednesday's election result. But following his victory, Wilders toned down the anti-Islam rhetoric.
If I become Prime Minister, I will be that for all Dutch people, regardless of who they are, their gender or religion, where they come from, for everyone.
That civilized tone won him voters during the campaign, says political analyst Rashid Azrout.
Basically what he said is, of course, my hatred for Islam, that will still be a part of me, but I will put it aside. That doesn't need to be part of the government. So that way I can become a more viable coalition partner.
Wilders' dyed blonde hair and conservative agenda have drawn comparisons with former US President Donald Trump. His program pledges Netherlands first, echoing the slogans of other populist parties.
This is the international trend, and huge anti-establishment populist revolt all over the place, all over the world.
But any coalition agreement will likely soften his stance, says Azrout.
Yes, Geert Wilders and his party, they say we should have an exit so that the Netherlands should leave the European Union, we should have the guilder back instead of the euro, and not support the Ukraine. But he realizes, of course, that he is alone in that sense.
Wilders' Freedom Party is still 39 seats short of a majority, and it's not clear if Wilders will find other parties willing to work with him. Negotiations could take several months. Far-right leaders across Europe sent Wilders their congratulations. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said the winds of change had arrived, while France's Marine Le Pen said it was a spectacular performance.
Rising sea levels, extreme weather and rising temperatures are threatening coastal communities in South Africa.
Coastal communities in South Africa are under threat due to rising sea levels. Hamburg, a tiny town in South Africa's Eastern Cape, is one of the many communities battling climate change. Nozeti Makubelo is one of the oldest residents of Hamburg.
We see the changes in everything. The sea, the forests, the land.
Increased rainfall and higher temperatures have made farming challenging. Siamaswana is one of the young residents of Hamburg, expressing concern about the changes.
Our weather here in Hamburg is not so stable. It's getting hotter, it's getting wetter. Even in my garden, I haven't even harvested a lot of fruits and vegetables.
Lower crop yields have residents turning to fishing for food and the illegal harvesting of marine resources. Makuwele explains why she used to illegally harvest abalone.
For a mother to see her kids without food is very painful. So I was forced to poach so that I can put food on the table.
A combination of both climate change and human impacts such as overfishing and poaching have led to a decrease in fish stocks and other highly valued marine resources. Craig Smith is senior manager of the World Wildlife Fund for Nature's South Africa Marine Program, which is working closely with the Hamburg community.
The warming of the waters also means that there is distribution in fish species, and communities that depend on fish for livelihood, that will impact upon their livelihoods.
Even coastal businesses like restaurants are affected by the shortages, says Cebo Mvubu, a fisherman in Hamburg.
Most of people that were depending on selling those the prawns like us and feeding our families, also the restaurants, now they don't have things to sell.
But Smith says despite the overwhelming scientific evidence, some people continue to express skepticism about climate change.
Many people dispute climate change, but hopefully what this event is all about is to prove that climate change is real, as experienced by community members.
The event is a group of 43 artists from Hamburg, mainly women, who are creating art that they hope will raise climate awareness in over 200 coastal communities in South Africa. Veronica Betani is one of the artists. She says this project is a way for her to express her fears for the future.
What are we going to do? Sitting together as women, putting the needle and stitching and stitching and stitching. We show all those ideas and all those pains.
The organizers hope this project will become one of many playing a role in teaching people about the small things they can do to help slow the pace of warming around the world.
In the Pacific Northwest, one U.S. state is trying to novel approach to combating opioid abuse, decriminalizing small amounts of hard drugs.
JB lives on the streets of Oregon's biggest city. He's an active fentanyl user and says he has been abusing opiates for 20 years.
If it blackens up or tastes really funky, it's not good stuff. I get really good stuff.
In a country struggling with an epidemic of fentanyl abuse, voters here approved decriminalizing small amounts of controlled substances in 2020. The goal was to destigmatize drug abuse and invest more in recovery. Instead of facing criminal charges, people caught with small amounts of hard drugs are given a citation and an opportunity for treatment. It's a plan modeled on Portugal's 2001 decision to decriminalize some hard drugs and boost treatment. But in Oregon, data collected since the program's start show few people following up with treatment. And those who do are faced with long waits, thanks to the state's historic underinvestment in behavioral health care. Tara Hurst heads an alliance of Oregon groups involved in the program.
What we've seen is when you don't have the services available and you don't have the care and the infrastructure and plans together when you're dealing with a crisis, it usually doesn't go well.
She says making the program a success depends on shifting people's views of addicts.
Do you see them as that they're making poor choices, or are you following the science that says this is a disease, this is something that can be treated, not cured, people do recover?
Launched during the coronavirus pandemic, the program known as Measure 110 has had uneven results, leading some to question its effectiveness. Max Williams is a former director of the Oregon Department of Corrections and a former state lawmaker.
Measure 110 was about meeting people where they were, meeting people who were dealing with substance abuse where they are. But Measure 110 has often left those people there. And we want to meet them where they are as well. We just don't want to leave them there.
Williams is part of a coalition backing a new referendum to recriminalize small amounts of hard drugs and make substance abuse treatment mandatory.
The whole idea here is not to ramp up additional charges on an individual, make a longer criminal history, or to use ineffectively jail resources. It's to create enough consequence along with reward to motivate this particularly difficult group of people dealing with addiction to actually seek treatment and recovery services.
David is a drug addict who also declined to share his last name. He says he has tried detoxing many times, but struggles to stay sober when he says Portland treatment centers are always short on space.
And there's just no beds available anywhere for inpatient, anything like that. You know, and when the staff tell you that, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
A 2021 federal survey ranked Oregon last in the nation for the availability of drug treatment facilities. Since the start of Measure 110 in 2020, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says opioid overdose deaths in Oregon.
A Thai-backed hydropower dam is under construction on the Mekong River near Luang Prabang, the old royal capital of Laos. It aims to export electricity to neighboring Thailand, but it also raising alarm over the future of the scenic UNESCO heritage site.
Few sites anywhere in Asia can match the charm and the cultural importance of Luang Prabang, the old royal capital of Laos on the Mekong River. 25 kilometers from the heritage town, a Mekong River hydropower project under construction since January casts a dark shadow over the future of this UNESCO World Heritage Site. A Thai consortium is developing the 1,460 megawatt Luang Prabang hydropower dam. It is the third Lao dam to be built on the main stream of the lower Mekong, out of plans for a total of 11 dams.
Well, I think the Luang Prabang Dam presents an enormous risk to the classical heritage at Luang Prabang Old Town. The river will not be free-flowing. It's dammed below, and now it will be dammed above. Tourists will be sitting beside a dead river.
The dam impacts could harm Luang Prabang's tourism. Many of the boats bringing tourists from the Thai border will not be able to pass through the dams. A UNESCO report strongly urges the Lao authorities to stop the dam construction at this location, especially with the Xayaburi Dam already located on the Mekong River below Luang Prabang.
If anything, UNESCO was careful and conservative. They tried to play a middle ground, but they're absolutely correct that there is a significant threat to the World Heritage values of this irreplaceable, unique old royal capital of Laos.
The Luang Prabang dam site is also located 8.6 kilometers from an active earthquake fault.
I have been there, yeah, of course, and I have seen it at least 3 times. After my careful investigation, I do believe that the Luang Prabang is dangerous because there are some earthquake fault very nearby the dam itself. Luang Prabang will not be safe for the World Heritage Site and the people who live there.
The Lao government says the seismic risk is already addressed in the dam's design.
The Honourable said yesterday to give the final go-ahead, then the construction can start.
But Dr. Kusile says without an independent investigation, the dam is not safe. Both the Lao and the Thai governments have rejected the call to halt the dam. This year, Thailand vetoed a recommendation to add Luang Prabang to the UNESCO list of endangered heritage sites. Former director at UNESCO, Minji Yang, told Turkish public broadcaster TRT that member states do not make conservation a priority.
Because there's a political
lobbying. You know, you vote for me, I vote for you, and the process of getting a site on the World Heritage List in danger has become extremely political. What can UNESCO as an intergovernmental agency do?
Yang says losing Luang Prabang would be a loss for humanity.
It's 28 minutes after 7. We've come to the end of our international news. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Let's leave you with the weather.
Kwalomuhle sikuwamukele ehlelweni kulesikhathi sanyalo sitawuthola umbiko wemaphoyisa sitawukhulumisana ke nemxhumanisi wemaphoyisa embobeni esive phindile Vilakati Mphephetha sikwamukele ehlelweni engabe nisasebenta ngempela sonto sithemba ukuthi kubebede bucala Mphephetha.
Siyavusela msakade zivusela naso sonke sive sakangwane sibonga kakhulu lethuba ekuseni kwathi sasive ukuthi impela sonvethu ihambe njani. Siyathi ukuthi impela somvele seyahlala ibhizi ngezinto letehlukehlukene lefaka khathi yona imicimbi umuntu angaqala ngakho nje ukuxolisa kuso size kulandela ingoti yenteke itolo lapha kumalagwana lekhansi seyibambelela abantu labanengi kakhulu bebe bayethe indzaweni letehlukehlukene simo lesinathi lesingetulu kwemandla ethu ngoba ke kufune ukuthi kube nalabo banikati baleyo motolo bende tabate ukuthi ikhweshiswe kungako ke uyakhanza siletinye izinto ziyadileya kakhulu kati nangabe kuyimoto lenkulu njengayo i-truck idinga into leti noma indlela letehlukehlukene letidulile tekuthi ikhweshiswe kuleyo ndzawo kungako ke kubena lokho kubambeleleka siyabonga ukuthi ke size senkosi sikhonele kusibambisa kuleyo msebenzi sisibeke ngakuthi tigagaba sibone tigigaba tekubulawa kwabantu kule mphela sonto kakhulu kati labo lekusolakala ukuthi bagange ngekucala thide bekuyinto leso beyichubekile siyachubeka nokusicela size senkosi ukuthi uma ngabe ukhona umuntu losolakala ukuthi wende lokuthide lokulicala asimane siwuthembe umthetho sibike kuwo umthetho siphinde futhi sibasite emaphoyisa ngayo yonke indlela lesingabasita ngayo lokwentekako kuba ukuthi umuntu beve ngathi emaphoyisa kude nakwentako nangabe babikile angambophi lowo muntu kani emaphoyisa asebenza ngebufakazi bekufuna ukuthi akweleke kucala ubufakazi asimthatha umuntu siphenye yena sifuna lo bufakazi bese ke sesiyambopha umuntu sekunebufakazi lobomhlanganisako nalelo kucala uhulumende uphelile ngaletimo letinjengaleti ukuthi umuntu aboshwe kani kusengatholakala ubufakazi nakaphuma lapho uyawuthola imali eningi uhulumende ngekuthi akakabopheki kahle siphinde futhi sabona sigigaba sebantu lababulewe singathi ukuthi ngabe bekusolakala ukuthi bona-ke banani lapha eshiselweni ekhaya la kufike khona umuntu longatiwe wachumisa sibhamu wabulala batali balelo khaya noma babe namake kulelo khaya sengikade-ke sizathu taloko futhi ngabe sibangwe yini sawuchubeka nalo liphenyo kanti futhi-ke sibe nato tigigaba teto tingoti emigwacweni letivele tisihlupha kakhulu kati kulamalanga lawa nasekubonakala kokuthi kusondela tikhaste kujabula lesigcine sithola tinombolo talabo labashayele timoto banathi letinyuka kakhulu njengaloku tisike 25 lesithi-ke sitawuqinisa kakhulu vele singamaphoyisa kulamalanga lawa kodwa siqiniseko sokuthi siyakwemisa sive noma sisita sive ukuthi kunciphe kwenteka kwato tingoti kuyo imigwaco yelive sifisela wonke umuntu liviki elihle siyachubeka nekuxwayisa kakhulu ngetigigaba letenteka kulamalanga abokhrisimisi nekukhuta endzaba yekulwa nekubulalana kuwo lamalanga lafana nalawa siyabonga kakhulu mphakathi.
Siyabonga kakhulu Mphephetha isikhathi sakho lomhla ekuseni sethembe utawuba nelisuku loluhle ngwane lomuhle bekungumbiko-ke wemaphoyisa wekusebenta kwabo kule mphela sonto lesibuya kuya sibahlolet market esikhulumisana naLinda Master Dlamini ngetemidlalo emva kwe-break ungenzawo. Kolomhla siphinze sikwamukele lihlelweni. Mbabane Swallows beat Young Buffaloes this past weekend to claim the top spot of the local MTN Premier League of Eswatini. A few other thrilling games locally. Sibona iMadlenya lebe denied a top spot in a goalless draw against Ishisalweni side in Singizini Hotspurs. Green Mamba drew 2-2 with Mbabane Highlanders and they now occupy the second position. Our local league is getting exciting by the weekend, by the day. Samukela nje ngisathele emsakade temidlalo linda Master Dlamini. Master, ngithanda highlighter imidlalo yempela sonto yalapha ekhaya. Exciting league indeed, but we also want to discuss Cape Town City iyadivisa lapha eDulu. Sundowns with many games in hand, of course, but Cape Town City currently in position 1. It doesn't look good nje kubona Sundowns in number 2, but we've been complaining about that. That has to change, but doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. Akusiyo Cape Town City kuphela lesativisa position 1. Kune Arsenal ngale English Premier League nanayo sesiyayathi ivumile ngekudivisa position 1, but let's start home. Obviously Mbabane Swallows position 1. Are you surprised? I was expecting Madlenya in Mbabane Swallows. Angathi lana ku tricky la.
Ngiyabonga Sifiso ngivuselena iLoyal View yeSwatini TV. Ngicabanga Sifiso ti i-weekend nawubuka cishe lama results ladlaliwe. Yes akhona ema results labe nemagoli incumbi yawo abe nemagoli. The only game lebebete ligoli iMadlenya neNsingizini Hotspurs. Madlenya seyina 5 emidlalo, ina 5 games. Ingakori ingangenisi kodwa ke ngemgcibelo lapha eKalanga bedlala yona iMbabane Highlanders idlala nayo iGreen Mamba. Lo mdlalo ke ngicabanga soba namagoli lamane lawa lo emagoli iMbabane Highlanders ishaya 2, iGreen Mamba ishaya 2. iGreen Mamba ke beyine chance lokuthi ichubeke ihlale etulo sicongweni kodwa ke le draw ngicabanga ukuthi iphinze yayibeka ukuthi ibe number 2 ilandzela yona iMbabane Swallows. iMbabane Swallows idlalile khona ngemgcibelo phasetibane lapha emavuso lapho khona beyidlala nayo iYoung Buffaloes. What a game Sifiso. First 6 minutes iYoung Buffaloes bese ilida nga 1-0 ligoli la owe, but yabuya iMbabane Swallows yakhona ukuthi irecover. Ngicabanga ukuthi ngiloko nalokunye lokufike kwajabulisa yena coach Caleb lokuthi lendlela lababuye ba recover ngayo. Ngicabanga ukuthi kukhombisa i-character kakhulu kule team. Kubonge kakhulu nekubuya kwakhe Leon Manyisa ku-midfield abekasola ngekho ngenzaba injury, but nje overall ngicabanga ukuthi le game lena isinike cishe emagoli yasinika cishe tactically bobona ukuthi okay yes 1 2 3 4 passes counter attacks kuneng but nje ngicabanga ukuthi overall kusitshengisile lokuthi sisetawugadza ileague le very entertaining. Kanzi earlier on bekudlale iDenver Sundowns idlala neManzini Wanderers umdlalo wokubanga lidolobha la khona kaManzini. Nawo lo mdlalo lona ngicabanga ukuthi Sifiso as much as akusiyo le igame lebeyiflowa, akusigame lebeyiflowa. Yakora kuqala yona iDenver Sundowns ngasiphamandla Maseko wase soyabuya Thabiso Mankonkwana kwayiwa ku half time ku 1-1. Second half iManzini Wanderers yawathola ama chances ngicabanga ukuthi i-finishing yabo ngiyo le bendele pass kule game lena kusibanga khona kuyiwina. Ngabona a couple of chances laba wathola lebe ungasho ukuthi ma clear cut chances lobo ngagatsa ukuthi bawine. Lenye game iLovo versus Manzini Sipets. Manzini Sipets nayo kancane iyabuya efomini iwinile ke ku iLovo nga 2-1 khona itolo, but kuleminye imidlalo ledlaliwe ngicabanga ukuthi itolo enhlangano njoba sengishilo ukuthi yona insingizini Spurs bedlala namadlenya tadrawa 0-0 but kunalenye igame lecalile before le game leyo igame yayo iRangers nayo iRoyal Leopard nawubuka ukuthi iRangers ikorecala kule game le iyabuya iRoyal Leopard yakhona ukuthi equalize ithole igol le-equalizer yaphela igame nga 1-1 but for iRangers ukuthi le ndlela ledlale ngayo nokusikore kuqala ngicabanga ukuthi kuyakhombisa ukuthi bebadlalela ekhaya home ground advantage. Number 2 sebadlala without fear solo iqalile nje le season le badlala without fear uyabona ukuthi cishe onke ama teams lamakhulu naka enhlangano awabuyi nje abuye athwele 3 points kalula nje ngicabanga ukuthi yena coach Mthunzi kuningi labakwentile behambile ke le team iyo khona South Africa nayo insingizini Spurs beyingekho ku FIFA week bedlala nayo iAmazulu friendly game. Ngicabanga ukuthi idinvo leto lodigadza ukuthi i-team ayakhabudlelwane nama teams angaphandle aphinze badlale nama friendly games because some of our players asuka ngekho national team ayawatsinga lawo ama friendly games.
Yeah, and you would say ukuthi kudlala kwa insingizini Hotspurs with that other team kuyisitile. You look at the results versus Madlenya, but Master ngifuna sibuke obviously number 1 Bobane Swallows. Your debate is that usola ngathi basativisa la.
No.
Are you confident they could be proving a point ukuthi we belong here?
Sifiso ngifuna kushonako bengishiso ukuthi bobalala amanye ama teams ukuthi asativisa. Imbabane Swallows ma true tightly contenders.
Even the record dates.
Nawubuka the squad labanaso combination my young players, very exciting young players together with yona experience because now setaba nabo bomabila usetaba nabo bokhanya bosanda nezwe usetaba nabo bo Felix then ube nabo siyabonga Zwane ube nabo Sizolwethu ngicabanga ukuthi manyisa isback ube nabo Tiger work rate yakhe ngicabanga ukuthi isetulu kakhulu so ngicabanga ukuthi ayikho lapha ngemistake but awucompete nayo iGreen Mamba this season yes ne-Royal Leopard itawubuya nayo icompete ngicabanga ukuthi
Madlenya awuyiboni ngathi itawucompete
okay so ukuthi imadlenya nawubuka ukuthi do 5 lo ma games lasihlanu ledlulile go onke la ma games lawa yakora ngwariti ukuthi as much as ngala ngemuva bangangenisi but kude lo muntu lo reliable lo bashayelako lamagoli sibonile elela season Jabulo Mazia before ayike Buffaloes wahamba animagoli lang 11 oyake Buffaloes beka consistent ekushayeni emagoli so ngicabanga ukuthi imadlenya i-challenge yabo lenkulu kakhulu ngokuthi basithole igoli.
Let's go to the DStv Premiership. Cape Town City, obviously I think we can agree lapha ukuthi isativisa lapha position 1. After Wednesday things will change. Well, might change if Sundowns wins against SuperSport. But let's look at the games. Mpela Sonto lesbuya kuyo South Africa. Orlando Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs. It's really painful kubona ukuthi Orlando Pirates ola ikhona ikora kahle man, but Kaizer Chiefs really had a good game this week.
If I sorry sengiphosanze Sifiso nawubuka lama results la khona lendekile ngeweekend Orlando Pirates bedlala na Richards Bay yangakhona ikora 0-0 nayo beyitaba ne chance ukuthi ichubeke ibambe ipace lapha etulu kwangendeki lokho but itolo bekudlala yona Chiefs nayo iMorocco Swallows yawina ke yona iKaizer Chiefs 1-0 ishaya former coach wabo Steve Kompela lo sakhona kuMorocco Swallows but I think kule game lena as much as Sahil kuthi kule game lena sifisa kunetindzaba letiningi kakhulu kuyo iKaizer Chiefs campaign yayo ukuthi kunebadlali labete training bangekho esimeni lesikahle including the longest serving player Itumele goalkeeper Itumele Nkhune kule game lena ngicabanga ukuthi indzaba leto letingasitota kahle but igciniwe nile iChiefs ngeligoli lakhe Sahil Cape Town City against iGolden Arrows iGolden Arrows beyisekhaya kule game lena ngicabanga ukuthi bengigadzile ukuthi mhlambe yona iGolden Arrows Mabuti Kenyeza coach wabo lo coach of the month bengigadzile ukuthi maybe kule game lena bangalithola goal, but yona Cape Town City igcine iwina le game lena nga 1-0 lokwenda ukuthi ihlale lapha eTulu. But ke Sifiso ngifuna kushona ukuthi as much as uthi wena iCape Town City isativisa now yes iSundowns mhlambe seyithi pressure kangako kudlala ku local league, but bayodlala iTswane derby le ngicabanga ukuthi angeke ize ibe lula. That's one, derby. Number 2, sebafuna ukuthi kulama games in hand abo labanawo bana 4 ama games in hand yona iSundowns, kodwa batawufuna ukuthi bay overtake yona iCape Town City. Ngicabanga ukuthi itaba ipressure naloko naloko sike badlale kahle ngeweekend ku CAF Champions League even Shalulile ukorile, so lesinye isikhathi yes no Super Sports ibuya kudlala yona iCAF ima games eCAF kutaba tough for both teams because babuya ekhambeni and babadlala tough games, but nje kakhulu ngicabanga ukuthi batasinika igame lemnanzi over the years. Yona ke iSundowns ibe seseyiyabusa kuyo iSuper Sport, ngathi ke noma kunto ukuthi incumbela abadlali labasoka kuSuper Sport ba iSundowns, but nje ngicabanga isikhathi igame lemnanzi kakhulu because nakulokho bayalanzelana iSundowns number 2 iSuper Sport United number 3.
And should Super Sport United win this game, Master, it out divisa now position 1? Yeah, go straight. If Super Sport United wins this game, I think for them, motivation there.
Yeah.
What the goods, I shy Sundowns, see a strong win. But what are the odds?
Kulukhunanyana Sifiso, kulukhunanyana njoba ngisho ukuthi iSundowns well oiled machine nangayibeka kanjalo. iSuper Sport yes Kevin Hunt ngicabanga ukuthi i-experience yakhe ngeke uze uyimatanise na any other coach losakhona nyala South Africa, but iSundowns ngicabanga ukuthi ine upper hand coming into this game ya midweek.
Let's talk about the English Premier League. Angifuni sikhulume ngeChelsea.
Ngicela sikhulume ngayiChelsea.
Okay, ngicela sikhulume ngalama game bekamcwa kakhulu Master. iChelsea sidakhuluma ngayo off air. Ngicabanga ukuthi nyalo looking at the time that we have, asikhulume nganawa la besingasho ukuthi beka defining Brentford versus Arsenal. That was a defining game. I think firstly the first thing like I recognize I was watching this game. Arsenal didn't have it easy. Bekungekho lula, even though we're expecting ukuthi kube lula. I think that's a sign for Arsenal ukuthi kukhalo kufuna ukulungisa. Ngongithi iyativisa lapha ku number 1 ngoba playing against Brentford and playing the way that they played, that's a cause for concern. But we also saw Liverpool wananayo against Manchester City. Of course, it was a great game. But you want to ask yourself, yes, that goal was brilliant by Liverpool. But Arsenal look like the better team.
A little graphically Chelsea and Newcastle solo lead. But in the Saturday, kwaqala games Liverpool versus Manchester City. Very very exciting game. Lesayibona khona Etihad Stadium. Udlala ngicabanga this lama teams lawa lamabili teams la competile for e-league for the past 5 seasons at the highest level. Ngicabanga ukuthi le game lena Alexander-Arnold walithola equalizer after yena Erling Haaland akorel goal layo Manchester City. Ngicabanga le result lena ibevele ivuma kuma fans ayo iArsenal nayo yabe libe isayidlala nayo iBrentford later that day. But igame lotha ufuna siyikhulume Newcastle nayo iChelsea. Ngicabanga ukuthi Sifiso nawubuka the way iNewcastle ledlala ngayo Alexander Isak is back owalithola ligoli lekuqala, then yabuya, but kunelgoli the only goal le Chelsea la Raheem Sterling. Oh man, what a goal, le free kick. I think kancane yena Raheem Sterling uyabuya ku form yakhe yena Mario Pochettino umtholile. Brentford versus Arsenal ngiyathi ukuthi uthi iBrentford iArsenal iwine kalukhuni ku Brentford. This is the same Brentford lehambe ya Stamford Bridge yafika yashaya iChelsea 2-0. Ngicabanga ukuthi kude izi games nyalo eNgilandi because nayo iBrentford
but Chelsea has been a losing team.
But the quality lenayo Sifiso ngicabanga ukuthi
against losing teams.
Angeke
bese Chelsea.
Yes.
That's quality.
yeah banema quality players quality players
but aka translate
because nangibala ema quality players esifiso eChelsea ngakubalela ngendlule isandla sami ngikubalele ngithi kuna Raheem Sterling kuna Enzo kuna Caicedo kuna James
but badlala njani let's talk about results thina nawe sale sihlala la phansi la sikhuluma ngema results yes we can analyze the formation of the team and the makeup of the team but Chelsea is losing lenye results Brentford August 2 but for Arsenal ukuthi sokol say Brentford
away
no
away Sifiso there's one thing lekumele ukuthi we understand ukudlala away akufanani nekudlala ekhaya noma ngabe ngiphi team Sifiso ile iLiverpool yadlala neLuton Town le game leyo yagcina idraw 1-1 a very tough game akusiko lula ukudlala away because kune home ground advantage the fans the atmosphere number 2 kunanakula bathi ma football anti-tactics nangingabeka kanjalo uthola ukuthi the home team yona isuke yathi ukuthi italimandisa kakhulu ground bajime eliviki lonke lapho kungathi kumandi khona kakhulu nanifika nibe surprised nansi niyolichecka before igame so ngicabanga ukulukhuni ukudlala away Sifiso lenye igame Tottenham Hotspur versus yona iAston Villa Unai Emery kunenvula iphekako ngale Aston Villa because nawubuka ukuthi ushayo ni Tottenham Hotspur iTottenham Hotspur seyiluze emagame lamathathu kulandzelana ngicabanga ukuthi it's a record ukuthi the team le njenge Spurs ngawina first 9 games bese seyiluza the next 3 games so ngicabanga ukuthi kuyi record lo but nje ngala ku Aston Villa njoba sengisho ukuthi yena Unai Emery nawubuka ukuthi Aston Villa number 1 Sifiso number 4 la ihleli khona ngetulu kwe Tottenham Hotspur ngetulu kwe Manchester United ngetulu kwe Newcastle ngicabanga ukuthi yinvo leyo bantu lapha eVilla Park lekumele ukuthi bayijabulele bayithokotele but lenye igame itolo siyibonile Everton versus yona iManchester United lapho khona sibone man Garnacho ashaya ligoli la lesikhumbude ligoli la Wayne Rooney nakadlala neManchester City ku derby lesikhumbude ligoli la Cristiano Ronaldo adlala ku Real Madrid ashaya against Juventus so ngicabanga that goal like Garnacho one of ngicabanga nje i-goal of the season for me so far now nolubuka lendlela but overall ngicabanga weekend yakhona eNgilandi kube weekend lenhle nawubuka as always nawubuka lama results Manchester United winning by 3 goals Aston Villa winning away at Tottenham Arsenal winning away at Brentford Chelsea Newcastle United scoring 4 goals against Chelsea Liverpool in Manchester City as always isinika emagoli ngicabanga ukuthi kube weekend lenhle enamuhla kune game ledlalako ke namhla ebusuku Fulham ngicabanga ukuthi nayo isikhatsile ukuthi ibe game lemnanzi kakhulu.
Just quickly let's analyze the log standings master. Obviously Arsenal occupying the first position with 30 points, Manchester City behind by 1 point with 29 points. They have equal games, 13 games, bonke from position 1 up until at least position 11. Then Wolves even a game in hand, but I'm going to say sit up your game in hand. The conversation now is Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, maybe Tottenham.
Koka la lamanye teams lo wabalile Sifiso Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City in that order. Okay,
Aston Villa.
No, central my teams la taw compete for e-league. Aston Villa they bafuna kubuyela eEurope. Unai Emery siyamathi ukuthi ugudu kanganani especially ku Europa League. So uyafuna ukuthi lokungenani ayidlale iEuropa League because kungena top 4 kumnika iChampions League, number 5 umnika sport ku Europa League. So utawufuna ukuthi this season ayimikise yona eAston Villa iyodlala khona eEurope again but ngicabanga ukuthi ama teams la tawukompetela yona ileague ngiyo la mathathu lesengwabalile Tottenham Hotspur ngicabanga ukuthi nawubuka nje ngoba ubona ukuthi sebakhale phansi imidlalo lemithathu Manchester United I'm happy ngendlela iManchester United leseyibuye ngayo lese ithole iform ngayo because ku last 5 games badliwe yinyi base bawina 3 bawina 4 4 yes bawine 3 in a row ngicabanga invo lenhle leyo for fans ayo iManchester United. Newcastle United nayo kancane yes ngeke kufane na last season lapho khona sababona khona badlala bangena top 4 baya ku Champions League, but this season kutaba very tough because lalamanye ama teams asabuyile akusasiyo nje ukuthi njengala last season lasabona khona kuyi Arsenal ne Manchester City kuphela.
You are convinced Aston Villa cannot compete for the league even with the record that it has? Now they've won 9 games just like the other teams. They have 28 points. They are looking really good. You don't think Coach Angasho would say, now that you have this record, Dinombolo Pilot, numbers don't lie. If we do want to compete with these teams, fine, our name is not a household name like Lama Team Lawa, but Sasla.
So the biggest mistake langa yenda Unai Emery kutshela badlali bakhe ukuthi bakompetela e-league. At the moment, badlali as a coach ubachela ukuthi guys, sithatheni game ngayinye iligol lethu ukuthi sibuyele sodlala eEurope, then awuyifaka kakhulu le pressure because now ifaka le pressure uthi sikompetela e-league utawukhanza sebenza ama-silly mistakes kanzi it is a young team la incombi yabo labede ne-experience lenganani labangadlali kakhulu kuma-national team. So ngicabanga ukuthi if untathi abahambe for e-league ngiko phela lesikulima Tottenham Hotspur because everyone isithi qala first 9 games bathi bonke bamvu Tottenham Hotspur ikompetela e-league, then ngiko ke bese sengena la tinqomente badlali.
Quickly, La Liga, we have 2 minutes, Master. Real Madrid, Visa, by the way. Girona is changing everything. It's changing the narrative tonight. But 3-0 against a 16th position Cadiz. Do we want to celebrate this kind of win as a great win or a win for Real Madrid?
So this is some also to my teams at Visa. But I think now teams like Real Madrid winile itolo Bellingham ngicabanga uyaprove again and again week in week out ukuthi why babhadala imali engaka abayibhadalele yena, and is the first player ukuthi akore emagoli kuma games is it 15 goals ku first quarter season after yena Cristiano Ronaldo na Puskás. So ngicabanga ukuthi lendlela leqale ngayo lafika wangena ngayo kule team ya Real Madrid uyakhombisa ukuthi is a world class player. Then yona i Barcelona idrawile on Saturday. Ngicabanga akusiyo into lenhle leyo. Nawubuka lelo Real Madrid ihle lapha etolojinora njengoba usho ukuthi bayadlala but isigadzile emagoli kule game le because iGenoria washaya emagoli. Nawubuka nje ukuthi iDouble Khune
Athletic Club is right there.
Yes, na Athletic Club iyawashaya amagoli, but Genora this season baprovile ukuthi bayi team to beat. Nawukhuluma nabo ngicabanga ukuthi nakungangena ihloko tabo ukuthi bakompetela e-league batawulimala kanti ngicabanga ukuthi bathathe one game at a time bangatshela ukuthi bafuna ukucompete because lalaba compete nabo banelimasela bane experience ama players bane quality players, quality coaches. So ngicabanga ukuthi as umvojinora lo lapha ngekhathi thathi game ngayinye nayifika nibona ukuthi sichubeka sendanjani nathi silwele ke Champions League.
Yeah, we'll certainly watch that game today 10 p.m. Master. If Girona wins this game, they're back at number 1, and my narrative Madrid Visa stands. I hope I'll highlight that in your absence, but me and you will speak of air. But I just want to promise you, Girona will be back in position 1 tomorrow. Are you agreeing with me or not?
No, angifuni ukuvuma Sifiso. No, angali. Ngithi Sifiso iGenoria washaya amagoli. Athletic Club nayo makusiyo an easy side. Ngajabula kubona iGenoria iwina iqhubeka ihlala
ethu. Ungabi kunabala bathi angathi ukuthi iskok taba ngibani khale tawina noma letawudliwa noma kutaba idraw. That's obvious, Master. But we shall see tonight at 10 p.m. Girona versus Athletic Club. Girona 6-2 get back and retain position 1 asathi ke ukuthi tawuhamba kanjani ngale kwaloko ngwanelo muhle bekunguye ke Linda Master Dlamini asibukisa nje temidlalo kule mphela sonto sitaqhubeka ke sibuke kusaqhubeka liviki phinza sibuye nato ngelesihlanu tabe selulunengela ushintsho kuwo ema log standings asiba no asinvalelise bongosi sitawubona nakusasa.